or the concept he has learned in the previous classes. So he will remember whether he has remembered or not. That is more important, so that he can apply it in his future studies. So that's what.
So there is one thing which you said very right, but I'll also connect to what I said, because I remember I made a point here which I said ASER 2018 report says out of every 5 children, 2 children can solve a mathematical problem of grade 2 at grade 5. Now what's happening? You are letting the child go without measuring his or her learning, and then you are repairing it in retrospective effect. So with this, that will be stopped. Because research also says, as we agreed a while ago, grade 3 is the tipping point. So you do the census exam there, you know exactly your level of learners. Plus you also know that learning happens in a learning ladder method. It's a cascading method, right? All of us are educators, we understand that. You learn at one stage, you assimilate the learning, and then you are ready for the next level. So these levels, grade 3, grade 5 and grade 8, serve as your planes of assimilation. Are you with us? Right? It makes sense? So it's a well thought out policy is what I can understand at this point in time with all of your consensus. Now, moving forward. It also recommends restructuring the board exam to test only the core concepts. And remember, this policy is not only CBSE. The problem is, whenever we read this policy, we start referring to CBSE or the ICSE or the Cambridge board or the IB board, and we say, yeah, that's what is happening, right? Sorry. There are only maybe 30,000, 40,000 CBSE schools in India today. But there are 15 million schools. 15 million schools includes your Telangana schools, that is state board, Maharashtra schools, Maharashtra state board, Jammu Kashmir also has their schools, Assam has their schools. So there they are measuring only the subject knowledge or the memory. But with this model, they are forced to measure, or they will be forced to measure the core concepts. So that's the concept. They are going to reframe that. And then the in-school final examination may be replaced by these board examinations. So at 3rd standard, at 5th standard and at 8th standard, there won't be a local school level final exam. It will be replaced by your board exams. That is a census exams. So this is the major highlight of the framework. Are you all okay with this now? Okay, now moving forward. This is another concept which is very novel. Yes. I like it when last benchers ask questions. They are awake. Yes, sir.
So the policy also comes with a no detention policy in grade 8.
Yes.
Then how are we justifying a state census exam at grade 3, 5 and 8?
Very good question. I will not answer this. I will hold. I will ask somebody to help me to answer this. The question is very clear on front of us. The policy also recommends and promotes the existing rule of RTE. RTE says there is no deduction. Okay, detention basically. So because there is no detention, then what is the question? What is the need for having this census exams at 3, 5 and 8 level? Right? That's the question. Any answers? Yes, sir.
We can select this subject for higher classes.
Okay.
Performance.
Okay. Yes, sir.
So actually when we are teaching them at 5 levels, like 1st, 2nd, 3rd and 4th, in the preschool, now we are going to change the approach. Now we are going to teach them phonetics. By that we are teaching them the 26 alphabets. Just because they are not knowing the 26 alphabets, they are not able to read. And 9 like numericals, 1 to 9 they should remember and understand. Then we will stretch it. We'll stretch it till 100, and if he understands that, we can teach them how to add and subtract and all. These things will be done in the peer school, like 1 to this 5 level, nursery, junior KG, senior KG and first, second. So by that, the student will be able to read at the 2nd level, and if he is able to read all the questions at 3rd level, he would be able to solve. And the same would be like the students are smart enough, sir. After that, they would be able to read. If they are able to read and write, they would be doing all the sums and in the future levels also.
Very good. So basically you are dwelling on the point of foundational learning,
Yes.
the impact of foundational learning, and sir was talking about it will help them to choose, especially at 7th grade it will help them to choose, because 8th or 9th onward it's semester based, they can pick up their subject, so they can do. Sir has another point, then I'll come to this side. Yes, yes.
Hello. Good morning, sir.
Yeah.
So detention, I found personally, it is our failure.
Okay.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you mean to say detention is the failure of the
Educators,
teacher?
teachers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why? Why do you say that?
Because we found ourselves to identify a child. Okay. If it is identified, we can go along with him. We can mold, because we cannot mold them. We have to mold according to them. So if this happens, detention will not happen.
Okay. So that's a philosophical thought which is right and also true to the correct world also. There is someone, I'll come back to you. The exact answer I have. I'm waiting to connect the dots here. Yes. Yes, your name.
Good morning. I'm Ritika Khatri from Shamit School.
Ah.
What I feel like कि these census examinations can benefit students in a way. Like students know कि board examination will be there after my second grade. So they'll be prepared earlier only कि yes, we have to face that challenge. We have to clarify that board examination. Then only we'll be able to go to grade 3. Otherwise, they won't be allowed. Retention is a policy which we know, but maybe they'll think कि if we don't cross that board examination, we won't be allowed to go to grade 3. Then more hard work will be there from their side also, and that can benefit them. Maybe
So,
no retentions.
You are in other words saying it serves as a milestone, checkpoint or a milestone. Okay. I saw some hands going up here.
How much learning has happened, teaching has happened, but how much actual learning has happened, there has to be an evidence.
So that's another point. The other advantage of census exams is to measure not teaching but learning. Measure learning, not teaching. Yes.
Sir, right now we are having 10th board exam. How much preparation we are doing for them? Even the students are serious, parents are serious, teachers are serious, school is serious, management is serious, everybody are serious.
Everybody is serious at 10. Ah.
Yeah. So that can be done at 3rd also when there is a board exam.
So they
That
not
will be-
third, they are saying do it
Yeah.
at 3rd,
Yeah, that's
5th,
what.
8th and 10th.
Once the seriousness will be there at 3, then automatically 5, then 7. So that seriousness will come from all the
So
stakeholders.
then we should have laughing clubs in schools then. Because every 2 years you have seriousness going on. Stress will go up in the schools. Anyway, that's a good point. Now coming to you. Anybody else wants to share anything? Otherwise I will tell him the answer.
What I feel is
Yes.
in the 10th standard, like she was talking about the seriousness, that if at grade 3 level itself, we are checking that whether the child has come to that level, then he goes to the next level. Then at least like at 3rd level itself, we are assessing him, at least he is there or not. If not, then we stop there. Then we go to the next level. If he has reached that level, then he goes further. Otherwise, in 10th, finally we are thinking and assessing the child. So that could be a...
Very, very true. So your point, you have another point to make? Okay. Yes ma'am. I'll come to you now after her. Yes.
Psychologically, it is proven that when the child completed his 8th year, means when he entered in the 8th or 3rd standard, his vocabulary started to groom up rapidly. That's why the board exam will be held for the 3rd standard. Again, there is a great change in their body, means psychological change as well as their physical change.
Physiological change.
Helps in the board examination as well as gaining or seeking the various kind of knowledge.
Yes. Yes ma'am. Your question has given a lot of people a chance to speak. Huh?
According to me, I feel when we talk about children, why are we wanting to pressurize them at such a young age of 3 in 3rd grade? According to me, let children be children. Like, why do we want to create that seriousness into them when they are just in grade 3? If we could just shift it to say 5th or 7th, so why do we really want this? I do not agree.
So this is a counterpoint. Yes. I'll give you the chance to speak and then we'll see how it goes. Yeah. Go on, go on. I think he is waiting for the mic. Yeah.
So coming to the point Taranum ma'am made, are we saying that the final exams that we are having in our exams, having in our schools, are compromised? Why is there a need of stat census exam when we have a final exam? I mean, even for a student who is preparing for a 10 boards, is not that he is suddenly going to a board exam. We are having prelims and we are having just as much seriousness. Coming to the point ma'am just made, we have countries who do not even have an exam system till the student is clearing his fifth. I mean, why are we then promoting a child to take the pressure on at standard third? That is completely something that is controversing it.
Very, very well made points, very well thought of. Personally, I agree with both the sections, right? But if I have to make the adventure of trying to connect the dots after reading the policy, first let me clarify. You are right when you say that when we are following a no detention policy, why are we having a census exam? The idea of having or introducing the census exams at 3, 5, 7 levels or 3, 5 and 8 levels is not to measure learning, it's to measure the teaching and the understanding what has happened in the child. So, they are not saying that result of this census exam will affect the child's progress. They are not mentioning that. So that is there. Now, coming to your point, I agree that we should not introduce pressure. At 3rd grade, forget about 3rd grade, even up to 12th grade there should be no pressure, because none of us, if we go back to our report cards, feel proud of opening them. Right? But we are all good. We are all doing good in life, decently good in life. Right? The point here what I am trying to make is, again, I made that disclaimer at the beginning, when we get into the nuances of this policy, we tend to put a hat of a CBSE principal or a CBSE teacher or a decent enough school which is running in a metro or a tier 2, tier 3 city. But the policy is applicable to that school in a tribal area where there are 5 teachers and 3 children. Yeah. There are schools where the number of teachers outnumber the number of children. So the census exam is basically to upgrade the level of students across the country. Remember, the ASER report or the PISA test was not, this is interesting. As I said, in CBSE we have organized ourselves, although CBSE says we don't recognize you, but we have organized ourselves as Sahodaya complexes. And that battle is going on, right? But the point is, the policy has given you an advantage now. The policy says we want schools to get organized as school complexes. You better organize, because proven, time tested is peer learning. So there are schools, 4 schools. In fact, this is a classic example of a complex coming together. See the learning happening. I mean, you don't have any distinction or boundary saying I am this, I am that. We are all educators, we are all in school system, and we are here to share our knowledge. So they say let's organize schools into school complexes, and the summary of this is the draft policy recommends that multiple public schools should be brought together to form a school complex. A complex will consist of 1 secondary school so that it has seen all the stages, 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4, and then all public schools in its neighborhood that offer education from pre-primary till class 8 will come under that. So that means there will be a school complex with 1 secondary school and other middle, primary and pre-primary schools. So that's one thing. The other thing it also says is the complex will include Anganwadis, vocational education facilities and adult education center. So basically they are trying to create an ecosystem. They are trying to create an ecosystem where everybody in the community can come together to share learning and to share knowledge. So that, I think, is a very good move coming to the school complex idea. The next one, this is again connected to all of you. Teacher management. What do you mean by teacher management? So how many of you are, what is that called, CTET or NET, all these tests which happen, national eligibility test, teacher eligibility test and all that. How many of you have written that? Got scores, qualified, first attempt, second attempt, third attempt? I think that's all right. 3 attempts is what is allowed. Yeah. So now they are coming up with this. This is very interesting. The committee noted that there has been a steep rise in teacher shortage. See the line, steep rise in teacher shortage. Yeah? Lack of professionally qualified teachers and deployment of teachers for non-educational purposes. This is another problem, right? Deployment of teachers for non-educational purposes. Not only in public schools, even in private schools. The draft policy recommends that the teacher should be deployed with a particular school complex for at least 5 to 7 years. Especially government teachers. They say that if you are in a school complex, you are deployed there for 5 to 7 years, no transfers. Frequent transfers. Then further, teachers will not be allowed to participate in non-teaching activities, such as cooking midday meals. Yeah, clap, clap, it's good for you all. Yeah. Or participating in vaccination campaigns. See, you may not get this affected so much as a government school teacher gets. They are also human beings, right? They have to do everything. They have to do election duty, they have to do polio drops duty, they have to do all sorts of duties, plus they have to do syllabus covering. Yeah? In fact, I spent a lot of time in Telangana, and I was told Telangana was in elections from 2018 to 2019. Continuous election. You had, your state government elections, followed by the central elections, then the panchayat elections, then the municipal elections. Election. One thing common for all elections: leaders are changing. Okay, but teachers are same. They have to do the work. And let me tell you one thing. One teacher, who actually is my friend's mother in a government school, I went and met my friend on a Sunday morning for breakfast, and her mother is busy, packing her lunch box. And I asked, what happened, auntie? Today is Sunday. She's like, no, we work there. This is compensation working. Government school, huh? Zilla Parishad High School she works. Government school, compensation working, they work on Sundays. So there are challenges in the system, and the policy is trying to create those challenges away, remove those challenges away, right? For teacher training, now this is interesting. The existing B.Ed program will be replaced by a 4-year integrated B.Ed that combines high quality content, pedagogy and practical training. So existing B.Ed is completely going to be replaced. Already you saw some versions coming forward. Prakash Javadekar, the Honorable Union Minister, said there won't be this B.Ed, 4-year B.Ed will be coming, and some places the rollout has also happened. But with the policy becoming an act, there won't be the existing B.Ed, it will be a 4-year integrated B.Ed. Why? To increase the number of teachers coming out into the workforce. Right? And see this. This is very important. Last line is very important for all of you. Teachers will be required to complete a minimum of 50 hours of continuous professional development training every year. 50 hours of continuous professional development every year, it's a minimum requirement. All teachers. Now, who has to own that professional development? Huh? Who has to own it? You have to own it. Individually, you have to own it. Don't wait for the complex to own it. Don't wait for the principal to own it. Don't wait for the system to come and own it. Teachers have to own that 50 hours of professional development every year. Whatever it is, in your own field. If you are in the primary, pre-primary, middle or the secondary, you have to do it. Right? Next. This is for all the leaders. Regulation of schools. There is a recommendation to create SSRA. What is that? State School Regulatory Authority. So it will be a state level school regulatory authority which will be created, which is a one-stop shop for all the regulatory activities of the school. Today what is happening? In a system, you have the Mandal Education Officer or a Block Education Officer, then you have your DEO, District Education Officer, then you go to your RJD, Regional Joint Director of Education, then you have your, what is it called, the Education Secretary, and finally Mantralaya, Minister, right? So now they are trying to create a school level, state level school regulatory authority where all of these regulatory actions will come to that particular authority. Then the Department of Education of State will formulate policy and conduct monitoring and supervision. So that will become a constitutional body, SSRA, and all the powers will be with that. Like for example, in simple words, you have the University Grants Commission. So that controls all the universities in the country, right? Similarly, they are trying to control all the schools through that regulatory authority in the state. In the state, each state will have that. Okay? Then, last point, the Right to Education Act. The only change they have done without tampering the Right to Education Act is earlier the RTE was applicable from grade 1 or nursery to grade 8. Now they have extended it up to grade 12. Up to grade 12. So RTE is up to grade 12. I see some people already putting their hand on their head. Because they want universal education, free education to every child in India. Okay, it's a law. Yes.
It is not reaching to the right person.
Yeah. So see, there are cracks in the system. There are cracks in the system, which is what we need to work on and fix up. But the point is, the thought, the vision is that. The vision is that. So the intent behind the policy is good. Practically, there are challenges. That is the reason they asked for recommendation. How many of you? Now I'll stop here because this is my last slide here. How many of you? From May 31st to June, from June to July, and from July to August, how many of you sent one recommendation at least to the Ministry of HRD on this? Why? They put it in the public domain. They extended it twice. They sent circulars after circulars through the CBSE regional offices. But why? Today you are saying, no, they are not reaching the right people. Why are they extending it to? You could have written that only on email, no? Why are you extending it up to grade 12? Already the existing system itself is not reaching to the right people. You first should fix that rather than extending it to grade 12. This is my recommendation. Sandhya Rani, so and so school. Over. I don't know who is Sandhya Rani. I just took Right? The point is, we have to participate. In fact, I'll tell you an interesting fact. Times of India conducted a survey in Mumbai asking about new education policy draft. 8% people said, what is new education policy? Teachers, they did not go to the pan fellow or the bonda seller or the vada pav guy and ask for new education policy. They went to school teachers and educators. But 8% people in the survey said, what is new education policy? And less than 40% people at least have heard of the word new education policy, which is as recent as last 3 months. It is not some 18th century story which I am telling. In fact, that is the graph which inspired me to come to each one of you in different cities to talk about new education policy. If we don't talk, who will talk? We don't talk, who will talk? I mean, there is an article which has come up recently in one of the education magazine where all the school associations, private school associations in different states, Maharashtra, Jammu Kashmir, Karnataka, Kerala, Tamil Nadu and Telangana and some places in the Madhya Pradesh and central India, the managements and the owners of schools are all against the new education policy. You know why? Because the new education policy recommends setting up of a school management committee, and going forward the whole power of running that school, including a private school, will be in the hands of the school management committee. And they say, of course I agree to some extent, not fully, the policy says there will be representatives of parents, societal leaders, well-wishers, educators and the principal and the few teachers, but the controlling authority will be the SMC, collective decision. Now tell me, the SMC, the owners of the institution are saying, how can you give the powers to the SMC when the investment is not done by the SMC? Which is right? It's like, I build a house, okay, but I go to the market and ask the people, what sabzi should I buy to my house? Because they are the sabzi sellers. Is it possible? Right? It's my money, but I'll buy what you sell? No, I'll buy what I want. So that's what managements are saying. No, the point I'm trying to take here is I'm not taking anybody's stand or anybody's side. What I'm saying is, you should know all this. Because your future is dependent on this. Your future is dependent on this. Yes or no? Do you agree with me? Yes. So that is the thing. So are you finding this valuable? Yes. So this is what. Now what you should do. Now the bus has passed. August 15th is over. But at least bring it to the notice of fellow teachers and educators. You must have one cousin who is teaching in some faraway place. Just pick up the phone today. Wish her happy Janmashtami and say, did you read new education policy? She will be like, what is wrong with you? Today Lord Krishna was born, but why are you talking all this? Yeah, but the point is, if we don't talk, who will talk? If we don't talk, who will talk? So let's be the change. See, teachers are a part of the system, but teachers will only be a part of the system when they want to be a part of the system. Otherwise, when I say I want to build a school, I'll say we need to have teachers. That's the part of the system. But if the teachers have to be a part of the system, the decision has to come from within, not from outside. Yes or no? Yes. So coming back, that is the change which they are bringing to the right to education. Now, last thing which I want to tell is 3 points. This is about the policy. We'll open up for question and answers. But before I conclude, I want to show you 3 slides. 1. This policy very, very, very strongly focuses on foundational learning. Focuses on foundational learning. It's a great opportunity for all teachers who are in the foundational learning phase. If you have dreams, if you have aspirations, if you have a ability to come, because see, I keep talking to teachers. Some of the teachers come and say, sir, whatever we do doesn't make a sense because at the end of the day, 10th and 12th results only matter. This is for the first time. The power is given to the foundational teachers. Do you see this? It's a great opportunity for each one of you. And we need to make that happen. Right? Now, the highlights are, they are saying, we will create a national mission for foundational learning. And then they say regular adaptive assessment of learning. So that the adaptive learning means what? Your formative exams, what you do? No. There is that summative exams which you create where on the continuous and comprehensive evaluation which you see. So you learn on the way and the child does not know when the child is being assessed. So adaptive learning and adaptive this thing is that. So they are going to focus on that again. Right? Now the things which are lacking, this is my recommendations to them, is number 1, they lack a clear definition of foundation skills. They are very highlighting at the top level saying that foundational learning should happen. But what do you mean by foundational skills? That they should do. Second, goal of acquiring foundational skills by grade 3. So they said that let us all set a census exam at grade 3, but you need to create a goal also, right? Otherwise, what will you measure? So that is missing in the policy. What should I measure is missing in the policy. They say measure. So that is one other recommendation which I have given. And then, this is one other thing which is interesting for introduction. 1 year of formal pre-primary schooling to ensure school readiness. Somebody said, my center manager said before I came in, she said, sir, but they have completely ignored pre-primary, pre-nursery. Because they are starting from 3rd year. The age of the child should be 3 and then they start. So we say that you have 1 more year of foundational, pre-foundational preparatory learning. That is also important. Because today, no parent keeps the child up to the age of 2 years and 11 months to send them to school. Yes or no? Yes. But then again you are leaving that point of the problem to be solved, right? Why there? Start from there. 1.5 is what people go. Normally 18 months to 24 months is when the child enters the creche or a play home or whatever you call it at the first time. So try to give that 1 year foundational, it's like this. Pre-primary schooling to ensure school readiness. Because you are now included 3 years and above into school, so you have a pre-primary readiness. The other point, funding. That is another point which they are talking. They say slowly 0.2% of the total budget of the government should be given to education. So that is a very ambitious line to say. But are you putting some controls and some checks and balances where the funding goes to the education sector? Because if you see last 5 years of the government currently, it is reduced. The investment in education has come down every year. You see the statistics. But you are trying in the policy that the investment should go up, or at least this much should be earmarked. If you want to earmark it, then fix the rule. Fix the rule. That's another recommendation which I have given to them. Then, adequate teacher support for grade 1 and 2. Specialized teacher support should be given for grade 1 and 2 teachers. That's very important. And the last point, language development in mother tongue. You know this problem created, they said, okay, 3 language system, English, Hindi and the local language. And Tamil Nadu started what? We won't study Hindi. But the policy should focus on mother tongue education, especially in the fundamental schools. Because the mother tongue education will give you a lot of conceptual clarity. So even today, the single largest challenge in the school education system is good speaking or spoken English ability. Why? There is a system we follow. You see something, you think in your mother language, you translate it into the local language which is English, and then you start talking. That process takes time and also maturity. Now if you introduce that at the kindergarten level or the pre-primary level, the decoding and coding and decoding time, the child is not that capable. But you put an external unwarranted pressure, and then the child is focusing on giving up, saying that I don't want to do this. But if you bring in mother tongue education, that pressure is completely removed, unnecessary pressure is removed. And you are focusing on conceptual clarity. So this is what. So tell me one thing, these are all common sense recommendations. So it's possible, it is doable, and they also want it. It's impossible for them to think from every perspective. That's why they want people to suggest, and we need to suggest. Because you are the practitioners. You are the practitioners. Next, the second one. Now this is a very, very well debated topic, technology in education. For the first time, this policy focuses on technology in education. And how does it focus on technology in education? It brings up a lab. Your computer lab is getting a rename called as Personalized Adaptive Learning Lab. What has happened is, all of you know in private schools we keep getting these softwares and solutions from different vendors. They say, ma'am, this has some programs and this has some models. Your child can do it according to his or her own pace. And there are 25 children in a classroom, 5 children are at level 3, somebody is at level 2, somebody is at level 6, somebody is at level 8, all of them can learn. So they are saying we will create this kind of a lab in the school. But my recommendation, I'll come to that in the next slide. The second one they are saying is National Education Technology Forum. Because what happens today in schools is there are so many technological solutions, the school principals and the school leaders will give up after some time. Like everything you have technology. Everything you have technology, and every technology looks good because the presentation looks good. So they are trying to create a NETF, National Education Technology Forum, which says these are some 8 or 10 items which are required for a school. So you can focus only on those 8 or 10 rather than focusing on 800 or 1000. My recommendation there is, for the lab you create the funding. You don't say you should set up the lab, create a fund and say that you take this, like Atal Tinkering Labs. Government has done it. Don't have to give 20 lakhs, 10 lakhs. Give 2 lakhs. Give 1 lakh, but give it to more schools. Give it to more schools so that each school. See, to set up a computer lab today, it does not cost more than 2 lakhs. Because you have got thin client computers, you have got a lot of things which are available. It does not cost you more than 2 lakhs. Now, if you can give a PAL lab kit and then create it, it creates a lot of opportunity for many schools. Not private schools like us, but government schools or semi-aided schools, unaided schools, these schools can create that. So that's one recommendation. The other one, flexibility for states to appropriate EdTech solutions. Now, every state, whether it is Telangana or Andhra Pradesh or Karnataka or Maharashtra, should have, because state education is a concurrent list topic. So in this, they have not given any flexibility to state governments. So the recommendation is try to create that flexibility where states can also participate and say, suppose for example, Karnataka. Karnataka is very strong in technology because of Bangalore. Right? Now if you say, I have a technology, you follow this, Karnataka will say, I have a better technology. Give them the flexibility. Telangana because of Hyderabad or Tamil Nadu because of Chennai. You know, these are the technology hubs. Use that and then try to take it to other places. Don't try to push it saying that this is what you need to follow. Next topic, the last. Focus on school governance mechanism. This policy talks on these three things. Number one, early childhood. Number two, technology. And number three, school governance. And school governance is very important. Very, very, very important. And they are talking about these things. They are saying separate administrative bodies for policy making and regulation, which I have already spoken about. State school regulatory authorities. Second, public provisioning of information on all schools. This is very interesting for all private schools also. What they are doing, the draft policy emphasizes on driving better school choices by regulating schools, which is a positive development from the current inspector-led regulation. This should be driven mandatory self-disclosure of regulatory information in public domain. So what they are saying? They are saying each school will self-disclose their information on a public platform. Your results, your certificates, your approvals, your attendance, your school operations procedures, everything you put it on a public domain. So that you don't have to wait for inspectors to come and look at you and then give you certification. So that's a very good thing. So that you self-disclose your school status. Common standards for public and private schools. Some of the private schools also are operating at a very bad level. So they are trying to create a standards, common standards, and that is where they are creating this School Quality Assessment Accreditation Framework. I already spoke to him. How many of you know CBSE schools? How many of you know CBSE, in addition to affiliation, they have a school quality framework? But how many of us have applied? So that's where the gap is. The gap is there. Thought and action. This is also another important thing. Ease of opening schools. I don't know whether you people are aware of this. All the front row people must be aware. To open a school in India today, you need 36 permissions. That is minimum. Any school, any state, 36 permissions. And each permission will take its own process. It's not that it's a relay race. It's a separate race. Okay, it's like, you run a relay. You have to come to the end point, but go to the first point, come back. Go to the second point, come back. Go to the third point, come back. Go to the fourth point, come back. Go to the fifth point, come back. Go to the 36th point, come back. And then last now round, run one 36-point round. That is running the school today. So now with this policy, they are coming up with license to start a school, LSS. So what happens? Single window system, where you apply all in one window and you get your license. Day before yesterday, something made a big news in South India. Amazon, Amazon, all online marketing and e-commerce. Amazon opened their first building outside of their United States headquarters in India. First time in India, in Hyderabad. Right? I'm not interested in that story. What I'm interested is, there was another small article in that same big news which said they got their entire license and permissions in 11 days. So I read that. How did it happen? So Telangana government started something called as TS iPass. TS is Telangana state, iPass is some abbreviation for all the permissions. So you go, it's a single window system online, you apply your data, you fill in the application form, all agencies are connected and then you get your permissions. And you know what is the famous interesting rule there? Within a particular period of time, if that agency does not respond, like for example I applied for fire, all the documents are correct, but the agency does not respond within that period of time, the permission is deemed to be given. So the applicant can say, I waited for 48 hours, they did not respond, I have a permission. So 11 days they got all permissions. Now my idea is, if it can happen to Amazon, why can't it happen to a school? I'm not saying I will violate and still give you permission. I'm saying you want 1 acre land, I'll give you 1 acre land papers. You want sanitation, you want fire safety, you want ventilation and air, you want water and water report, you want drinking water facility, you want staircase, ramp, you name everything, I'll create everything. Because no school wants to violate anything and take the safety of children into some kind of a tragedy. We will give you everything, photo evidence, video evidence, everything. We upload it. Within 1 week, if you don't give us permission, I will take it as granted. You can come and inspect anytime. My doors are open. So this is the kind of policy recommendation we need to give. So the license to start a school is a step in that direction. We should be able to create that. So that's a recommendation which I have already spoken. I started about consolidate schools within the school complex, administration and coverage of National Assessment Survey and public provisions of student learning outcomes. On the last point, before we go for question answers. That code is a very, very powerful code. Do you agree with me? A school is an attempt by a nation to aggregate knowledge at one place, to develop it and to disseminate it to the younger generation. So basically, why did I write that code? Is, as a school, as educators, our focus should be on assimilating knowledge and generating new knowledge. But today what is happening in our schools? We are disseminating information and assimilating grievances and redressal. We are only firefighting. You have this problem, I'll solve it. You have this problem, I'll solve it. No, I can't solve it. You want, I want. So we need to create that environment, and we can create this. This is an opportunity for us to create it and take it forward. So my request to you is, be more involved in your profession, not in your subject. I know you're all experts. If I sit in front of you for math, science, physics, chemistry, biology, or Hindi, English, or Marathi, you people will drink me completely, you'll swallow me. So I'm not here to teach you subject. What I'm here to teach you is, be more involved in education, because it is your future. It is your future. So this is what I would like to say, and now I am open for questions. We can have some questions and then we can conclude.